welcome to this episode of Beyond a Label podcast. This is my friend Elin. Elin. She goes by a lot of different names.
True. That's true.
So today we're gonna interview her and listen to her whole story of moving to Hong Kong from Norway and starting her business, the Common Abode, which includes like this cafe that we're in right now called Yam.
Yes. Close.
It's Norwegian.
Yes, Norwegian.
So, hi, Elin.
Hi.
So good to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
So, okay, why don't you just start with like telling us a little bit about yourself, like when do you move to Hong Kong, why do you move here, where you're from, all that.
Okay, sure. So I moved here about 5.5 years ago from Norway, a small town called Hamar. So that's where I grew up, and then I decided to get out of Norway. I wanted to explore Asia more because I have some family members in Shanghai. So I decided that Hong Kong would be the perfect place because I wanted to study business. And yeah, that's basically the reason why. So I came here, studied for 4 years, business and marketing. And then after that, I started Common Abode.
That's so cool.
That was a long story short, by the way.
Yes, super short.
Yeah, very short.
But like, okay, well, first of all, I've never met anyone else from Norway before. I feel like it sounds so different. Is it true that like the kids there don't have like exams and like life is like super peaceful and zen and like all the what's that word? Hig? Like yes. Yeah, like happiness concept, like is all that true?
Yeah, it's true. Like I mean the Nordic countries like Norway, Sweden and Denmark is like rated like the happiest countries in the world because it's like very chill, very peaceful. Like obviously grades and stuff matter to some extent, but we care about like the extracurricular activities, like hanging out with friends, sports, and
like life in general.
Basically life. Like no one's gonna really give you a lot of pressure. We do have exams, but it's like very chill. We have some homework and stuff, but it's nothing that serious. It's not very competitive as well. It's like everyone's just chilling.
That sounds so good.
Yeah, it is really, really nice. It was such a great place to grow up. Like when I came to Hong Kong and I, went to USU, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, which is also called the University of Stress and Tension.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was such a transition for me because like I'm not used to like that kind of environment. Yeah. Like everything is very competitive and everyone's like sleeping in the library and I'm like, I need to sleep in my bed.
Yeah.
Like I need to go out, have fun, enjoy my life. I was like, that's such a big part of like the Norwegian culture.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a change.
How long did it take you to actually like adjust to like the Hong Kong lifestyle? Because I feel like it's polar opposites. Like here we just do things so fast. Even on the street, people are literally running.
Yeah, for sure. Like it probably took me like 6 months. Yeah, it was definitely a transition. Like you said, everything is so fast-paced, and especially when I first got here, I was studying, and everyone's just kind of like stressing about grades and, competing with each other, and yeah, it was a little tough for me in the beginning for sure, but kind of used to it now after almost 6 years, so.
What do you think helped, like, throughout the process of, like, getting used to moving to a new country, especially one that is, like, so different from where you're originally from?
I think I kind of took it, like, in the first few months, I was kind of trying to do everything. I wanted to like explore everywhere. I wanted to like get to know a lot of people and kind of put myself out there and didn't really like give myself much time to kind of reflect on what was going on. So the first couple of weeks was quite hectic and I felt very overwhelmed. But after that, it was kind of more like, okay, spend some time on my own and even just like going outside myself, just exploring, really helped. And, when I was in university, like, it's the first year, everyone wants to hang out, be friends, studying together, but I didn't really find that effective as well. Like, kind of just needed to take some time on my own.
And you've been here for 6 years.
Yeah.
How has that, like, shifted, like, wanting to, like, go out and, like, explore things? And I mean, because I feel like you're still doing that right now with, like, your new, like, Instagram channel. You're still talking about finding new things in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong, especially being a place so small, I personally find it hard to like resonate with like, new like weekend spots like every week because I think I've been to everywhere already, but obviously there's still so much more to explore. So like, is it still like a similar mindset, or has that shifted?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I still try to kind of like make the most of my days off or on the weekends. Like maybe when I was in university, it was more like partying and going out, and it's a different life back then. But now it's more about kind of like enjoying the city. And I think during COVID and stuff, it was kind of like everyone was getting sick of the city and like not wanting to stay in Hong Kong and things like that. But I feel like I kind of want to try and explore more of the city and the places that are a bit more hidden. And also the city has a lot of like new openings, like new activities, stuff like that. So I'm just trying, I mean, I really love it here. So I'm just trying to see more sides of the city.
Wow, and you started a business here.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, that is so cool because it's so hard. Like, even just us here being in this cafe, so it's in the middle of like Central and like Sherman, which is like one of the most expensive areas in Hong Kong. So I'm just personally so impressed with how you like keep it going and like introducing like your own cuisine, like Norwegian food, Norwegian food.
Norwegian food. Yes.
To Hong Kong. So can you just like tell us a little bit more about like that whole process and like eventually like doing this?
Yeah, sure. So I was always like very interested in food, and my boyfriend Nelson as well. We're big foodies. And we always, like, our kind of hobby together is, like, going around, exploring new restaurants and trying new places. But we couldn't really find, like, authentic Nordic food or authentic Burmese food. So he's from Myanmar. So we kind of felt, like, a bit sad. And we really wanted to introduce kind of, like, our culture and food to the people here in Hong Kong. Because, I mean, there's, like, so many things that you can find, like, everything from, like, Japanese, Korean, like, Indian and stuff. But not really what we have in our home country, right? So that's kind of like where the idea first started, and then we just kind of jumped right into it. Didn't have any experience at all. I just came out from university, and there's definitely been like a lot of challenges that I did not expect, a lot of hurdles, and especially with COVID as well. So it's definitely been a journey, but I really am passionate about sharing my food and culture with people here. So whenever I have guests coming in and really enjoying the food, that really makes me super happy.
What are the major challenges with doing restaurants in Hong Kong? Because I mean, just as like a consumer, I see restaurants closing down all the time, and it just feels like such a difficult business to be in.
Yeah, it's definitely hard in Hong Kong because it's very expensive. Like the rents are crazy. Central area is definitely more of the expensive areas, but at the same time, it's where people are willing to spend. So it's kind of like catch-22. But managing people is definitely has been kind of difficult for me because, I'm only 26 years old and we have staff with like 10 years of experience and much older than me. So, it's kind of, you need to find a balance in terms of managing, but also learning from, people who have more experience basically. And just in terms of the maintenance as well, because a lot of buildings in Hong Kong is like really old. Things are always like falling apart, and like maintenance is very costly.
Of course.
Yeah. So those things are definitely one of the major ones.
And how do you like keep yourself motivated and keep going? Because I think that's the questions that a lot of young entrepreneurs have, especially with working in an industry from such a young age. Because I mean, I started in events planning when I was like around like 19, 20, and it was just so hard like seeing like working with people who have all these experiences and having to earn the respect. Yeah,
it's definitely very hard. Just because, like you said, like we don't have as much experience as others. But I feel like for me, I really spend a lot of time, hearing others' opinions and their experiences. Like especially with our team, like, we have a culture where it's not like, oh, who knows better. It's like everyone's learning from each other. Everyone comes from different backgrounds, and we share as much as we can. And we kind of work together as a team. So that's what I really kind of love about the culture that we have kind of created within Common Abode, just to be very open and learn from each other, basically.
Okay, I suddenly just have like a question that I want to ask, because since you did business in university and now you're actually like running a business, how much have you used like what you learned in college to like actual real life, or like how much of that is like correlated?
Yeah, so I think like most people are like, oh, whatever I learned in uni doesn't really, like they don't really use it anymore, right? But I feel like people subconsciously use it. Like for me, like I came out and I was like, oh, it's gonna be useless, you know. Yeah. But sometimes things come up and I actually think of the things that I've learned, and I definitely think I use it. Yeah, I definitely think I use the things that I learned for sure. Like marketing and entrepreneurship was two of the main kind of classes, like the directions I was doing in uni. So yeah, I definitely think I'm using it a lot.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, maybe not so much like the finance part, like some of the like accounting stuff maybe, but yeah.
Good to know. Go to school, guys.
Go to uni. It's important.
I don't agree. I don't agree for me.
Don't go to uni. It's not important.
I'm just kidding. Go to uni if you feel like it's important.
That's true. Yeah. Go to uni if you're interested in the topics, if you want to study and party a bit.
Party within reasons. Does that even make sense?
What she said.
Because I always tell my audience like, oh, I didn't go to uni and like it's good. No, I love hearing about how people like go to uni and it like help them.
Yeah, I actually think it does.
Yeah,
I actually think it does.
But do you think it's important to like have like good classmates when you're in uni? Because I feel like I didn't have like good people like in my course. Like people that I find, but not like bad people, but it's just like I just couldn't find like friends.
That's a good question. Actually, yeah, because when you're like kind of young and you kind of go to classes with your friends. Like sometimes if you don't like the class, you usually skip the class. Don't skip your classes.
Don't go party and like don't skip your classes.
But that's just like the mindset, you know. Sometimes it's like, oh, all your friends are going to like, you know, the cafe to hang out, you know, while you have like a class that's like outside of everyone else's. So you're kind of like, oh, I'm just gonna skip the class and hang out with my friends. Yeah. So then you're not gonna learn anything from the class. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think it's important to extend, and actually in uni it's super important to have like a really good group when you do like group assignments.
Okay.
That was one of the most painful thing in uni. Seriously, that was terrible. Everyone has to like make a group and then they get graded based on the group, right? So it's like sometimes you get assigned a group and it's like someone's not working and then you have to do all the work. But at the end of the day, it's a whole like a grade for everyone, right? Everyone's gonna get the same grade. So it's like I always had people slacking.
I feel like honestly that's such like a life lesson, because if you're like working in a company, because you get graded like based on like your team and like company, right? Yeah,
exactly.
But what do you think, is there like a solution to that? Like, do you like call these people out, or like what do you do if you're put in this?
So I actually had this like group project with there was 6 of us. There was one girl that never showed up, and she would like just join the Zoom meeting, but she would like pretend that she was there, but when I heard from other friends that she was actually outside, like having dinner and like just like hanging out with friends, but just like put herself on mute. So we all called her out, but she didn't really do anything. Like you can call people out, but they're not really gonna change, you know, because they know at the end that it's just kind of gonna be the same. But you know, we did email the teacher because it's kind of unfair, you know, like it really affects everyone's like mood and morale. Course. So that's all you can do, and you have to leave it up to the teacher. Do your part. Do not let other people do your work.
Like, don't be a free rider, right?
Yeah, don't be a free rider.
That's so true.
No, seriously, it's the worst thing.
Okay, but what about? Okay, I actually want to bring this to like situation now. What if you're a boss, obviously, and what if you see a person in your team like slacking?
I guess if it's someone slacking, I definitely have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
We like to have like one-on-ones with our team members just to hear like what's going on, and if they're not happy with something or if they're slacking, basically. Yeah. So it's kind of a lot of conversations. Yeah.
Like communications. Basically.
Yeah, communication is very important. Yeah.
Wow. It's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. Yeah, it's very tough. Like sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes I think about like, oh, you know, maybe I'm gonna be honest, maybe it's easier if I just work on my own, you know? I don't have to worry about anyone, but at the same time it's very rewarding working with people as well.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people think this way, that it's like faster if I do it, like it's so much easier like not having to like tell people what I want. But at the end of the day, if you need to be like an entrepreneur and being like an actual like head of the company,
Yeah.
you need to delegate.
Yeah, you need to have people. You can't do everything on your own. You
Yeah.
know, you need definitely to have good people around you.
Yeah. And I feel like you have quite good people, like at least from everyone that I've met from your company.
Yeah, we have a really good team. I like kudos to my team because they do so amazing. Like even not just like in the venues, but
Yeah.
of course they too, but behind the scenes, like all our social media and photography and EDMs and things like that. It's they really put in a lot of effort, and yeah.
What is like the top criteria for you to like hire a person? Like if anyone wants to work for you.
Yeah, so basically with me and Nelson, we're both very new as well, so we don't really look at people's like experience. They don't need to have like 5-10 years, you know. They need to be like open to learning and being quite flexible to try new things, just because we have quite different venues, and they would have to kind of be open to like cafe, but also restaurant and then bar setting. So yeah,
That's really good.
yeah, and of course interpersonal skills is important, like, you know, that you're open and you like to talk and you have good personality, but at the end of the day it really depends on openness to learn.
Yeah. I feel like that's with like all industries right now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter if you're like super smart in your field if you're as good as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like now, I mean, these days you don't even have to go to uni, right? Like as long as you have like a good attitude, you're open to learning, then it's kind of fun. Yeah.
Okay, my next question for you is actually like, how is it working with your boyfriend?
Oh, yeah. I get people asking me that all the time because they're like, how can you like live together, like travel together, work together, do everything together? You guys are always together. And I'm like, yeah, we are. But we really enjoy it. We kind of like delegate as well. Like there's a part that he handles and there's a part that I handle. So I don't know why, it's been quite easy.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we delegate, so we don't always work on the same thing. So it's kind of like individual still.
Yeah.
But we do see each other quite often. We have meetings together with the team, and it's quite smooth actually. Yeah, we're able to kind of like separate our work and our personal life, but sometimes it just gets
That feels
intertwined.
so hard.
It is hard. Like sometimes we have date night or we have dinner, and it's kind of like the whole time we're just talking about work,
Yeah.
and it kind of sucks. So we're trying to learn to kind of like just separate the two. It's not easy, right? Yeah, it's not easy, but so far it's been quite smooth. Honestly, we're really lucky to have a good working relationship as well.
Because like, what if you have like a disagreement on work, and because for me, I feel like it's definitely impossible for work with someone that I date, because I would just like not like hold grudges, but it will not leave my mind until I solve it. So I would just like bug the person until like it gets solved.
Yeah, okay. But I think with us as well, we do have like arguments and we do disagree on some things, but it's like we have that respect for each other, so we would never like call each other out like during a meeting or stuff like that. We're always kind of like on the same page. If there is anything that needs to be discussed further, we kind of take it, you know, on our own and seeing how we can solve it together. We're quite understanding, but I always win. I always win.
You should win.
Don't settle, girls.
No, I love that. That's so cute. Wow. Wait, I'm just like wrapping my head around this, because I can never even like imagine working with like someone and like living with them. Like not even with like my family members, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also like after work we do go home together and stuff, but we also have our separate friend group. We also do our separate activities, so I think that also helps, you know? We're not always kind of glued together.
Yeah.
So I think that's important too. Like for me, I also want to be independent. I also kind of want to, even though you're dating someone, you don't have to have like your whole life together, like do the same thing. So I really like to have my own friends and go do my own thing as well. So I think that's important.
So I just did another podcast episode, and that was with someone who works with his dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's quite normal, right? In terms of in Asia, working in the family business, that must be a lot of pressure as well.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like even with friends, because for my first business, I started with a friend. And eventually, like our friendship just like fell out. Because obviously we were so young and we didn't know how to create those healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I ended up having to like pay him to like buy him out of the company, which like just ended like very ugly, you know?
Yeah. I've heard a lot of stories as well, like people working with friends and they're like starting something really exciting and then kind of ends pretty badly, and then friendship as well.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks. Yeah.
Do you have any tips on like, people wanting to like start a business? Okay, actually two things. People who want to start a business in Hong Kong, and second, people who want to start a business with someone that they know.
Okay, so the first one in Hong Kong, right? Yeah. I think it's definitely quite challenging, but I think it's possible. Whatever you put your mind to, it's possible. But definitely do a lot of research in the industry. Talk to people that work in that industry. So, for example, if it were to be an F&B, I would meet with people who have opened restaurants before. I would meet with contractors, get different prices. I would also talk to people who work on the floor, like staff members, people who work in cafes, and hear their perspective as well. And I think it's always good to just have a mentor, have someone that you can rely on just for questions, and just go for it, honestly. Just go for it. Like, the worst thing can happen is obviously it doesn't work out, but at least you went for it and don't have any regrets.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's definitely not going as I expected, of course, with all the situations happening in the world, climate,
everything.
But COVID and, just everything, all the moving parts. But at the end of the day, I'm proud of myself and I'm happy that I got here, and just looking forward, really.
Yeah.
Did I really answer that question though?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah? Guys, go for it. Just try it, but make sure you do the research first, and then whatever happens after.
Yeah.
And the second one for someone that you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that sigh?
I mean, like, it's definitely difficult, but really think about it before you get into it, because you don't want to ruin a friendship or like end up breaking up with your boyfriend, or get into like a family conflict. But I think it's important that you have an open mind. Like, people always have different perspectives, you can't always kind of think that your direction or your version of something is always the right one. And communication is extremely important. So I think if you guys are close enough friends or close enough family members, then you can always just sit down and have a conversation if there's an issue, rather than becoming bitter or being angry. So just communication.
Yeah, communication. Even if it's not in business, like anything.
Yeah, anything. Like, even if you're falling out with a friend or you feel some type of way about someone, like, just have a conversation. Don't hold it in. Don't be angry,
I mean, I feel like, I don't know. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but like what you're doing right now, have you thought that you would be in Hong Kong, like having restaurants and being like a content creator, even when you just moved here?
No. So I always knew that I wanted to do something after uni that wasn't kind of like just a regular path. Like, when I was in uni, obviously everyone is, worried about like their corporate like career and like going into finance, and I always knew that I didn't want to do that. So I kind of always had something in mind, but what that wasn't always decided.
Yeah.
But I knew I wanted to start something on my own, and yeah.
What would you tell yourself like when you were younger, knowing what you know now?
I don't know. I think just be more confident, and believe in myself a little bit more. I think even till this day, I kind of have that. What do you call it when you're like, you don't feel like
imposter syndrome?
Yeah, like imposter syndrome. I still kind of have those feelings sometimes. Like, even if I get recognition or something like that, I just feel like maybe it's not really deserved, or I feel like even when people comment, oh, you do really great things, I kind of, I don't know. I feel I think it's quite usual these days that people feel that they're not good enough. I'm not saying it's that case, but it's hard to kind of give yourself enough credit. So I think I would just tell younger self and current self to give yourself a little bit more props, believe in yourself, follow your dreams, just go for it even when you're insecure and you're not sure if it's the right path for you.
Yeah. I think it's in those like insecure times that you need to more go for it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're like doubting yourself if you can do it or if you should, and it's just like, just go for it, magic can happen when you do it. So
yeah. I recently was learning about how like your brain wires, and if you're scared because like you never had success at like a certain thing. So for example, if like I want to be like a singer and I've never really like felt that I was like a good enough singer, it's because my brain doesn't register singing and good together. So the more you do it and the more like it's like practice makes perfect, that kind of concept too, right? Like and then you just need like that one moment when your brain like registers like, okay, singing is good, and then you can like keep going. But that is just like getting there, it's
like
really
starting
difficult.
it, right? Like just that's true. And even if you try something and it doesn't go as you planned, like it doesn't mean that it's over. You can always find a new way or change it up and see what else can be the outcome of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I also want to ask, like, so your family is in Norway?
Yes, my parents are in Norway and my dad's side of the family, but my parents are actually from Shanghai, so I have family there as well, like my grandmother and stuff.
How did it feel for you to like live in Hong Kong and like be so far away from home and like doing your own thing? I'm just curious,
Yeah, I think like, my parents, they're not that traditional, so I think they're fine with it. But with my grandmother and stuff, I think they're also okay because now I'm moving closer to them, right? Like Hong Kong only 2 hours away from Shanghai. But in terms of the career path, there are definitely some like, they weren't quite sure if this was the right thing for me. Like especially like my aunt and my grandma who lives in Shanghai was more like traditional. They're kind of like, I don't know, maybe you should like go and work for someone else first, or like, get into finance and stuff like all your peers are doing. So I kind of had to like try and convince them that, this is like the path that I want. And, at the end of the day, like it's my decision. I love my family and I take their opinion very close to heart. But at the end of the day, it's like my life, you know, like you need to follow your dreams. But in terms of moving abroad, when I was young, I was like, okay, I want to get out of Norway. I want to have fun, like meet new people. Like, oh, I've been with my parents for too long kind of thing. But then you move abroad and, it's kind of sad in a way. Like I made this decision. I don't regret it, but I am very far from my parents and they are getting older and you realize some things that you didn't think about before. You're missing important life things that like basically things that are happening like birthdays or they're going on holiday or whatever, and then you can't really be a part of it. So it's definitely a little like bittersweet.
I think that's always like that when you're like when a person wants to like do something that doesn't like not from like their own hometown and like away from their family, because you obviously have that like hope and dreams for yourself and just so much like aspiration, but also that tie back to like but the butt.
Exactly. It's kind of bittersweet. So I mean, now that I'm kind of like older, I'm spending more time traveling to see my family. Like when I was younger, I was prioritizing like more like friend trips and like partying or whatever. But now it's kind of like every trip that I had involves kind of like my family. Just because life is so short, guys. I'm not gonna get too deep, but
I know.
Seriously, spend time with your family.
No, I feel similar.
Right.
I think it's an age thing.
It's an age thing for sure. When you hit that number, you're like, my parents, they don't look the same.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like life moves so fast around you when you're in like your mid-20s. Like you are getting married, having kids, and like just like take a breath.
But it's so stressful. Like when you were young, you didn't have to worry about anything. Anything. You're like, what are we eating for dinner?
Yeah, I know.
It's tough.
Wow. No, it's just like real life things that everyone goes through. But I mean, obviously, we get through it.
But I think it's so easy to like get caught up in like the world that we live in. Like you're like, you get mad at like small things or annoyed at this and that. And I'm like trying to tell myself like, try to be grateful and happy for all the moments, because we are lucky to be where we are.
No, for sure. Is there anything else you want to add? Just anything like upcoming projects, any more insights or tips that you feel like you still want to share?
I don't know. Maybe for projects, I think we might be opening another venue soon. Yes, it's still in the works, but it might be happening next year.
Okay.
Maybe in another country as well.
Oh my gosh!
And besides that, I'm just working on my content as well. Follow me at always.elin. I will feature you as well. from today. And yeah, basically,
Amazing.
that's it.
Wow.
Really, that's it.
Well, let's go into the last question.
Mhm.
You can take it as deeply as you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just to tell us one thing that you love about yourself.
Maybe that if I put my mind to something, then I really go for it and I put in all my effort. So that's it basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously you made it work. Like, look at this cafe. It's freaking amazing.
So far we're still here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for everyone else as well, if you want to do something, just do it. That's kind of like my motto in life.
Yeah.
You don't want to regret not going for it.
Oh my gosh, for sure. Thank you so much for everything that you shared with us today.
Thanks for having me. So much fun. I cried a little bit.
I love it. You're like the first person who cried on this podcast.
From laughing as well.
Yeah.
Yes. But it was super fun. Thanks for having me. And
Yeah. Follow her at always Elin. And any other Instagram or anything else?
That's it. Only on one Instagram for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Talk to you later.
Yes. Talk to you later.